Welcome back. Today I'm going to be drawing Black Panther's face in a close-up. So let's get started. First going to start with your nose, and we're going to make this pentagon shape. So we're going to start kind of with a pointed arrow here, and then bring down the sides, kind of diagonally taper them in slightly, and then we're going to round the bottom kind of to almost like a point, but not as pointed as the top. Moving over to the side, we're going to start with his eye. So his eye is going to be kind of this horizontal diamond shape. So I'll start with a line here horizontally, bring up the sides diagonally, and then the top again is going to be slightly diagonal, and then bring it in at a diagonal as well. Same thing with this eye. Start with the top, with the diagonal up, out, and then bringing it down, and then connect it back in. And this line should be fairly straight coming across. All right, so he's got this really cool design going around kind of the bottom area of his eye that leads to his nose, to his other eye. So it kind of comes from his eye out, down, and then we'll work our way along the bottom. Kind of follows the nose area here, and then along the bottom of the nose, which we just kind of made, so we can kind of just go over that line again and then back up on the other side. And again, this is very symmetrical, so you want to kind of stay even with the side that we began with. Comes up along the outside of the eye and then back in, and let's parallel that up with another line. All right, coming to kind of the designs on the top here of the mask, we're gonna build another bridge line for the nose, kind of like that. All right, so the designs for the top of the mask are gonna come up and then curve out and around, and then parallel that back. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're starting about here, again, keeping it symmetrical, up, out, and then parallel it back in. And there's also a design inside there too. So we're going to come up, and then up and around again, and parallel it back in. Same thing with the inside here, going up vertically and out, and then parallel that back in. And we can kind of round out the top of the head here. As we come to these open sections here, that's going to be where the start of the ear is going to be. So I'm going to come up in a kind of a triangular shape, and then bringing it back down. Okay, same thing on this side, up kind of in a triangular shape, and you kind of want to stay even with the top here, and bringing it back down along the side. Okay, and let's round out the kind of the sides of the mask here. So I'm going to come out kind of along the side of the eye here. So kind of round it out, and we'll come down a little bit further here. Same thing on this side. Okay, and we'll stop about here. Inside the mask area here, he's got two kind of, I kind of call them arrowheads that point toward each other. So one here, and then one here on this side. And then kind of go center with the eyes. If you were to come straight down, we call this a drop line that comes straight down. They're kind of even with the eyes here. So we're going to parallel those up, and then we can connect the sides of the mask around to the bottom. Parallel that one up and connect this side of the mask. Okay, I'm going to come back up here and work on, there's a little eyebrow section that he has here. So I'm going to come up and around. And then as I come kind of to the outside, it just sharply turns up and then back in. Same thing on this side, up. As we come to the outside of the eye, sharply turns up and then back in. All right, I'm gonna come down center here. Again, this is more focused on the actual mask. So I'm not gonna draw too many details here, but as I come center, we're gonna draw just the beginnings of his necklace which is, you know, very particular to Black Panther. So I'm going to move across, and this kind of goes in a kind of a curve around his neck area. So I'll make another one here, kind of a spearhead shape. And we'll do one more to indicate kind of the curve of his neck. All right, and let's also, while we're doing this, indicate where his actual neck would be. So it's just going to be a curved line from here out. And usually the neck is going to go from kind of a little further than the outside of the eye. So if we're doing a drop line, a little further than the outside of the eye, and there's your neckline. All right, just going to kind of draw in some various shapes here to indicate highlights on the mask. So when we start to add color, I'll just leave those areas a little bit lighter as we work. These highlights along the outside are really important. They indicate kind of the contrast between color and where the mask is divided with color and kind of deeper areas in the mask. All right, so starting to add some color now to the mask. I'm going to start with a colored pencil again, just a black colored pencil here, and just start to fill in this space with an even kind of tone coming all the way across, being sure not to get that color into the detail pattern areas that we work so hard to draw. So when you're adding the color, if you're doing that with crayon or marker, I suggest just going very slowly around the areas that we did detail. So in between all of these areas are fairly dark. These are like the deeper areas in the mask, and really kind of want to darken those up. And if you're using a colored pencil or even a crayon, they kind of work very similar. Go over it once, and if you think it needs to be a little darker, just go back over it and layer it. And that's kind of how you would get the correct value that you're looking for, rather than using so much pressure in the beginning. Just kind of go over it again. So go over it super light, and then kind of go back on it, and you can kind of, you know, select which value you want. Okay, going along the bottom ridge of the eyes. Again, this is a fairly dark area in the mask. And then along the bottom of the eye here, there's a little bit of a separation. Along the nose area here. Now, usually when I'm drawing a kind of a smaller version of the Black Panther face or mask, I usually leave the nose white because I try to kind of focus more on like the overall positioning of the black figure body. But on this, since we're kind of working in so much detail into the face here, you know, that's why we drew the bridge of the nose, and so it's a little bit different if you followed along with my other two drawings of Black Panther. And so much fun to draw, so that's why I wanted to kind of keep going along with this series and draw a couple more versions of Black Panther. And also to give a great, you know, thanks for all of Black Panther's work, and Chadwick Boseman, who is a fantastic portrayal of Black Panther. Big fan. Okay, just kind of filling in this space, going along these detail areas. This centerpiece I'm going to leave a little lighter. As you see, I'm using much less pressure as I come along, and then maybe I'll double back on some of these other areas here. So I'm going to double back on this. Again, where I just feel like it needs to be a little darker, where there's kind of these deeper cuts in the mask, or deeper kind of areas in the mask. So some areas are going to be a little bit more shallow, and you're going to see kind of they're a little bit highlighted, and then some areas in the mask are going to be a little deeper, and that's where you'll see kind of more of the darker values. Okay, coming along the bottom ridge of the chin. And now I'm just going to kind of fill in this space coming along the bottom of the neck here, or the neck area, working along to the side. Indicating a little bit of a highlight in this kind of V shape that I've made. That's going to be for his kind of his collar and where his collarbone meets in the center. So again, not getting too focused on the actual form of the body, more focusing on the face design. But we can also indicate kind of some areas to show that the body does continue down the page. Okay, all the way along the necklace line. Now I can go back and just sharpen up any areas that I think need kind of fine tuning, or maybe a little darker in value. So maybe along here, I'm going to darken up some of these values. In between here is a fairly darker area. And along the outside of this detail here. And again, also what this does when I do darken it up is adds contrast to the detailed areas, which is super important. Kind of the outside of the eye here. And the outside of the mask. And also I like to go over it a few times too. It creates a nice smooth texture. Even with the crayon, if you're working with crayon, it does kind of a similar thing. So again, just kind of going around it and smoothing out some areas. In between here, we're going to get a little bit darker to, again, highlight the bridge of the nose. Okay, and to highlight this detailed area, I'm going to kind of darken this area in between. And then the outside area here is eyebrow, and then underneath the eyebrow, leading into the very important eye area. Okay, along this area of the mask, we'll leave the edge of this highlighted and coming across the ear and then to the neck here. Just sharpen up some of those lines. Just adding kind of a little bit of shadow to the necklace. Working along one edge if the light is coming from the other direction. Okay, and we're going to call that one finished. I hope you guys enjoyed drawing a close-up version of Black Panther, and give them a try. It's a lot of fun. Bye.